Ding dong.
Come in, it's open. Oh, hello, my dear.
Hello. May I?
Of course, just sit. Make yourself comfortable.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome, you're welcome. It's been a while since we saw each other.
Yeah,
So.
I have been busy, you know.
Oh, really? What did you do?
Well, you. Did you hear? I have some new territories.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
No, I didn't.
Things are going...
In fact, didn't. The NSFW didn't inform me of anything like that, so... Well, I'm glad to hear that your territories are doing fine.
Well, thank you. What about you?
Well, on my side, I had to get rid of a few assets. I mean, they were a bit too
One is
nosy.
necessary.
Of course, of course.
But let's discuss business.
Of course. I mean, I invited you specifically for that. I mean, as long as we can put our clans together and iron out a few things, I mean, we could try to get a coup on the prince.
Yeah, but we have to think that good, my dear. It's not so easy. Since when you're able to drink tea?
Well, that's not tea. I think that was a bit too much. Cut.
Oh, hello! Forget about the gross thing that you saw. Because today we will play about Vampire the Masquerade. Vendetta! It's a game designed by Charlie Cleveland and Bruno Faidutti and published by Horrible Games. You can play the game from 3 till 6 players. And, well, yeah, Vampire the Masquerade, probably most of you knows, it's a game set in that world with vampires, killing people, drinking them, fighting the Prince of Chicago, and blah blah blah. But just let's get to the rules. The rules. Yeah. Components in page 3. 7 clan sheets, 1 for each clan, 63 clan cards, 9 for each clan, 8 relic cards, 30 relic cards.
No. Stop that.
But I'm doing good!
Yeah, okay, but people at home will have the possibility to read all
Well, they
the
don't have to
writing.
read, they can hear me.
Yeah, but it's kind of boring. Just
Aww.
go. Setting up the game is relatively quick and easy. Depending on how many players you play with, the setup will differ slightly. In our case, we will simply set up a 3-player game in order to show how everything functions. In a 3-player game, you will take the Princess Haven, as well as locations number 1 and 2, as well as distribute 1 clan to each player, together with all of the clan cards, while taking the 2 hunt and ready cards in hand. This will be the starting hand for every player. In addition to this, every player will take their position tiles and put them 1 each around every location in a way that will be most simple for them to put cards down, because cards will go in this position every time they will be played. So a finished player setup with 3 players might look a bit like this, with the 3 locations ready with each position tile somewhere around it to access it easily. In a 5 or more player game, there will be 1 more location number 3. Now every player will receive the starting resources of 6 blood each, as well as 3 influence per person. Now everyone will receive 1 victim card, which are all basically the same thing. They don't have any specific abilities or anything, just the artwork changes, and that's really it. This will be called your alliance, and those cards are put on the right side of each player board, as shown here. Finally, the first player token will be given to one of the players randomly, or you can also just decide as you wish. First, let's get quickly over the different cards of the game. Each clan has different types of cards that all do very different things. The text underneath will explain exactly what those cards will do. In this case, we will just go over the basic iconography that is present in all different clans. There are active cards that have this black background behind the text, and as well there are passive cards that have a white background behind their text. Active cards will play out, while passive cards will only play or come into play whenever the conditions explained on the card itself in the text box will apply. So those do not, by definition, have a purpose until something happens. The different icons shown here on the left and right side of some cards depict when the effect will be resolved during the action phase, during the conflict phase. This, for instance, will happen first before the rest can be resolved, because it has that dawn symbol on it, while this, the night symbol, means that it will happen after everything has been resolved and even after the resolution phase has stopped. Every round in Vampire the Masquerade Vendetta will be played the same way. There are just in total 3 rounds that will be played, one after the other, with each phase being first feeding, setting up the locations, planning, the resolution, which consists of withdrawing the revelation and the actual conflict, and finally the end of the round. All of these steps will be explained one after the other in order to better see what everything does. The first thing is feeding. This is basically just collecting blood from your different victims and allies that you have collected throughout the rounds. In this case, we will simply get 1 blood. After this, we will put new allies on the different locations. In this case, we just show 1 just as an example. But we would simply fill up the different locations with one of the allies cards. These are these colored cards that either depict a human or a vampire, as shown by the blue or red background. All of those ally cards have the same kind of information on them. This is how much influence we will win at the end of the game, as long as this card has not been drained. This is how much blood we will receive every turn from it. And if the card was drained, we will come back to draining a bit later, we would flip it and only this part would then be checked. This means immediately after draining we will get 3 blood and gain only 1 influence instead of the 3 at the end of the game. After the location setup, we will now build up our hand. At the beginning we will only have those 2. So continuing, we take 2 cards, 2 new cards, select one, and the other will go back underneath the pile of cards of our clan. So now we have 3 cards, which can be played during this round. Now we will come to the planning phase, where we will put our cards down on the different locations. This can happen in 2 different ways. Either we take a card and we just put it on the position of our location where we want to play the card, as is, showing to all of the other players what we are plotting. Instead, however, we may put them face down so that no one knows exactly what you're putting down, but you will have to pay 1 blood if you wish to do so. You are also allowed to increase the strength of the card by putting more blood on it. You have a maximum of 3 blood that you may put at the moment you put the card down. In this case, this card would have cost us in total 4 blood, with 3 being put on top of it to increase its strength. The strength is shown here in the middle of the card itself. So that card will have a strength of 6 during the conflict phase. So now players alternate putting down different cards on the locations of their choice until everyone has only 1 card left in their hand. So during the first round, everyone will have to put 2 cards down. On the second turn, it will be 3. On the third round, it will be 4 cards. Once all the cards have been played on any location they want, the resolution phase will begin. The resolution phase starts off by first checking whether or not you want to stay in that location. To do so, you will use one of those 2 tokens that you received at the start of the game to show either you staying there and fighting here in this location, for the ally itself, or retreating from this location. Once everyone has done that, the tokens are revealed simultaneously, and in case you stayed, the cards stay there, while if you retreated, all of the cards, including whatever was on top of it, is being put on the prince's location. If you decide to retreat from the prince's location, in this case, you will simply take back all of your cards, including blood paid on top of the cards. Blood that has been consumed in order to put the card down face down, however, will not be returned. For this specific scenario, we will just assume that we stayed as well as everyone else stayed. In that case, all of the cards that were currently face down will be put face up to show all of the information on the cards themselves. Now we will, one after the other, resolve the different texts on the cards themselves, and finally checking who has the most power on this location. And this person gets the ally as well as influence based on the round and the location itself. Let's discuss the different icons and timings of the cards themselves. In this case, we have here the gangrel player who has this symbol on his card. So despite him not being the first player, or rather his ability will trigger first. So in this case, he would take 2 blood from the bank and play them on this location for free. After this, it is the first player, the person who has the first player token, who will activate their abilities. Let's assume this character has the first player token. He would be the first to trigger this ability. Then it would be this one in case this condition really takes place. And finally, we resolve everything. In this case, the Tremere player has 6 plus 1 makes a total of 7, while all of the others have 1 and 2. This means the Tremere player gets this new ally and puts him in his alliance side of the board, as shown here. Finally, now that everything has been resolved, the ability of this card would come into play because of the knight symbol. So after the resolution, the Tremere player may use this ability. You may spend half of the blood from your blood pool, and in this case, every rival loses 4 blood. Rival is always meant to be the other players on that location. Assuming the Bruja player wasn't there, he would not lose 4 blood, while the gangrel player would. The different rewards that players get for winning over locations are just as follows. It depends on the round and the actual location itself. So, for instance, during the first round, the player who actually wins the location gets an ally, the ally that is on the location itself, plus 1 influence, while the second person would get a victim and 1 influence, and the third player would receive 1 influence. Please bear in mind that winning over the Princess Haven will not only get you the rewards discussed right now, but 1 influence more, as well as the first player token. Whoever wins the Princess Haven also gets to be the first player during the next round. This marks the end of the round phase, where simply everyone takes back their cards, gets them in their hand, and prepare for the next round. There is one last thing that needs to be mentioned, and that is, in case you ever run out of blood due to either opponents stealing blood or removing blood from your blood pool, or yourself paying too much blood that you didn't have yet, you will enter the so-called frenzy. Any blood that would have had to be paid in excess, so let's say you would have had here to pay in a total of 8 blood, you just pay the 6 and the rest is simply not accounted for. For the frenzy, you will take all of your alliance cards, shuffle them up, take 1 at random, flip it over, and this will be the ally that you will now drain. To do so, you flip it over and you put it under the drained allies section of your board. This will give you 3 blood, and at the end of the game you will have 1 influence instead of the 3 that this card would have been worth. In case the ally that you drained was a vampire, you will also receive a so-called Diablerie token. Those tokens can be used as an additional blood during the game, but they will also be worth 1 less influence at the end of the game. So you will then have to subtract any Diablerie token that you have from your influence points. At the end of the 4th round, the game ends, and whoever has more influence counted from all of your allies that you have, as well as drained allies that you have, plus the influence that you have acquired during the game, and whoever has more wins. If there is a tie, the person who has at that time more blood in their blood pool wins, and if there is still a tie, the tied players share the victory.
Play around!
Okay, so because setup is relatively simple and straightforward, we will just be showing 1 round of it, and we are on round 2. So first thing, we gain our blood from the people that we...
From our victims.
Yeah, from our victims. So I gain 2.
I gain 1. And Momo 2.
Momo 2.
And it's Momo. Hi.
Yeah, she's our second player.
Yeah. Third.
Third.
I'm the second.
Sorry,
You put
third.
Momo before me.
No. Third player. Okay, good. Okay, so that is done. We fill up here the different locations with new allies. That is
Can
the
you
Princess
take
Haven.
the tea, please?
I'm taking away the tea, it's fine. Like that. It's done. Won't come back. Okay, good. So now we take 2 cards. And one of those will be selected and kept. Not actually good. The other one will be put down under the deck of cards as explained. Okay, done? Good. Now we will begin to play the different cards wherever we want. I am the first player, and I will just play this here. There.
So give one blood, please.
Yeah, of course. I paid 1 blood, and that's it.
So that's...
Now it's Mumu's turn.
We'll play it like that too. There. And pay 1 blood. Okay. No, I am here.
Yeah. I will play my hunt token here and pay nothing. It's fine. I realize that I don't have one, but whatever.
And we'll just play that here.
Okay.
I will play that here.
Okay, perfect. So now...
We kind of have the same hunt with Momo. We have the same hunt.
Yeah, you both
No,
have the
kind
same.
of.
It's the exact same.
Yeah.
Really. Okay. I will pay 1 blood to put that one down like this.
Oh yeah, Momo's turn. 3... No, Momo plays here. Like that. And I will play... Okay, I play there.
So,
Okay.
we'll then play now from the first location to the Haven, to the Princess Haven. Here. Do we want to stay or not? Yes.
Okay.
I assume everyone wants
Everyone
to stay.
stay.
That makes sense because it's a pretty powerful person. Focus from hunger. Fearless and hunt. So
that's day.
the very first thing, yeah, exactly. So those two will happen in any combination that the player wants. So what does Mumu want first?
Okay. And this is take 2 from the bank and put in this application. So give me 2 blood.
Yeah, those two anyways. So you don't do the fearless because
I
otherwise
don't.
you will go to frenzy.
I will go to France, exactly.
Okay, no. So okay.
Yeah, but then you have 9.
-1 per blood that I have in my pool. So 8. Exactly. So here we have 5 in total. Here we have 0. Here we have
8.
8. Exactly. So I win this ally that I will immediately put here. Plus I will gain... we are on the second round, so I will gain 2 influence.
Momo is the second.
Mumu is second, so she will
A victim
gain a
from
victim as well as 2 victory points.
Cool.
Your third, you gain 1.
I get 1 too. And steal some blood.
Yeah, because now, yeah, your ability triggers after the resolution, so you gain 1 blood from each of us, and that is really, really shit. So my second frenzy already. Well, at least it's just a human.
We don't care about humans.
Yeah, humans are shit. Okay, so I will gain now 3 blood. Boom.
Okay.
That's not that helpful.
Let's go there.
Okay, second location. So, first, do we stay? Do we go?
Oh yeah,
Should
of
we
course.
stay or should we go?
Should I stay or should I go?
Should we stay? Should we go now? Okay, good. I retreat.
Bye!
So, my cards now go to the Princess Haven.
So,
I'm out.
both
So-
of those are during the night. If I win this location, each I will lose 4 blood. Oh, I'm sorry, Momo. If you don't, I lose 2.
Okay, so who wins?
I, because Momo have 0 there.
Exactly.
And I have 3, so
Okay.
fuck the system.
So
It's my card.
you gain the
I
card.
gain the card.
You gain 2 influence,
And,
and Momo gains 2 influence. But
yeah, and I have to give them Momo.
Wait, one after the other. So
Yeah.
victim.
Here you go, Momo.
Okay, because I'm first player,
Okay,
Momo
she
would
will.
be the first to trigger her ability.
I give her blood.
Exactly. You give her a blood, and now fuck the system.
She will give me 4.
Exactly. She will give you 4 because you won that. You have tons of blood. Well, that's Bruja.
Me.
Okay, good. So that's done. The final one. Do we stay? Do we go?
Of course. Where can we go now?
Well, you can still retreat.
Momo doesn't have one there.
Exactly. So
Okay.
you still can retreat from there.
I know how to.
Oh,
That's why I
just
put that
saying.
there.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Oh.
Okay, good. So, good. Okay.
I have 6. That's it.
Okay, so the very first thing that happens is mine because of the
Of the
dawn
sun.
ability, exactly, the sunrise. Gain as much vitae
That you have.
as I need until you have 7 in your pool. So now I have 7, that's it.
But who won? Who win that?
Then the next would be your ability that triggers.
So I don't have any deployed there, so I have 6 powers.
Exactly, so you just simply have 6 power.
Yeah, that's why I put it along there.
Then me, no, I don't have anything else. So 4 versus 6, you win, as well as the victory, the first player, and you gain instead of 2, 3 because it is
Okay.
the Princess Haven, and I still just gained 2 because I didn't win it, but I at least.
Yeah, but you
gained
say you have something, a knight there.
thingy. Yes, after the resolution, we look at the knight symbols. So now we check. You may spend 1 blood to steal from each rival.
So just from me.
Exactly.
You can have one
So-
blood, my dear.
So basically, I steal 1 from you by paying 1.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the round. We collect our cards back.
But
And
the blood that I
everything.
took, the Momo took from the bank, goes again to the bank?
Goes
or-
back to the bank, exactly. Everything is just spent.
Okay.
Okay, so next round. Okay, so we will then continue one more round, and at the end of the game, whoever has more influence will simply win.
Me.
Together with the rest that is
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
on the right side, plus those 0 and 0 for me. So, boom. What about Momo?
Bye.
Well, from what you saw, I hope that gave you kind of a good idea of how the game plays. And I'm sorry we weren't really able to play with a third player because Corona, as usual. That's kind of a bummer, but never mind that. So the game's good. I mean, it should be relatively clear that this is a really good social deduction game. You try to really get into the mind of someone else playing, because you will play the same cards over and over again. You will have an idea of what your friends are going to be playing, but not where and in what combination. That one card per round that comes in is an unknown variable that will then spice up really the turn. And that's really the meat of the game here. It's all about finding out, okay, what is he gonna try to get? Because that one vampire in the middle, that's really, really strong. It could win him the game or not. And that's kind of the whole point here, really. To summarize, it's really fun. It's really interesting. And the best part of it is half an hour for a social deduction game. That's kind of unheard of. Usually those games tend to last hours, sometimes really a whole evening just to get to a certain point. This here is played in 30 minutes, tops, few rounds, done. I think it's really a great addition. If you don't have any kind of social deduction game like Avalon or Human Punishment or stuff like that, this is really a good alternative. It's quick, it's fast, it doesn't have too many rules, so you can explain it relatively quickly to anyone. I really think it's a valued addition to any board games collection. And it's got vampires in it that don't sparkle, so what do you want more? I would say get it. You see that? And that.
Those two. Yeah. Click it. Because that's good for us. Hopefully. We need more victims for our vlog. Please. I don't care. Just do what you want.